What's up, Autocons and Deceptibots? Welcome back to another video. This is Deceptibot9 here. This week not bringing you a review, but I'm bringing you instead a top 5 video. I think I'm going to balance out between the two. I'm going to do some reviews, do some top 5s. Let me know what you think. If you want to see any full reviews of any of the figures that I'm going to list in my top 5 today, go ahead, let me know down below. So today we're doing the top 5 Studio Series Voyager figures released up to this point. Studio Series started in 2018, so we've got a good 2 years, 1.5 years of quality figures coming out for me to list on my top 5. There were some pretty difficult choices, and my criteria is going to be based upon how much I like the figure, how good its transformation is, articulation, all that jazz, but also going to be a little bit of nostalgia flipped into it as well, because that's a huge factor for some of these figures, and I'll go in a little in depth for each of my figures here. What's up, guys? So I'm here, I'm editing the video, and I just wanted to say something I forgot to say in the intro is that I am not putting any of the Constructicons on the list currently, and my reason for, even though I love them, I love Scrapper. I have so much fun with Scrapper and Mixmaster, but my problems with the Constructicons right now is that I don't feel like they're complete figures until I have all of them and I can form Devastator. So I feel like it's not really fair to put them up against figures that are already complete. I know that sounds weird and a little odd, but that's just my personal thing. I feel like they're just not a full figure until I can put them all together as they were meant to. So that's why you don't see any Constructicons on this list, but I just do also want to mention Scrapper and Mixmaster definitely deserve spots because they are phenomenal figures in my opinion. That's all I got. Back to the video. So we're going to start with an honorable mention because it's so hard just to pick a single top 5 list. And my first honorable mention, my only honorable mention, is Studio Series Brawl. Studio Series Brawl came out in Wave 2, so it was late 2018 when he was released. And he's only my honorable mention because I just love the other figures on this list so much, but I love Brawl too. I didn't want to exclude him on this list because I have a blast transforming this guy from robot to tank back and forth all the time. This guy is phenomenal. He has such a fun transformation, and he just looks great and intimidating here in his robot mode. Pretty much just hopped off the screen, which is what the Studio Series is all about. He's also on this list for nostalgia reasons because back in 2007 when the original movie came out, I did have the deluxe version. I didn't have the leader class, but I did have the deluxe, and unfortunately, he broke at some point. I don't know when that was, but he did break, and so I didn't have a movie Brawl in my collection for a long time. So Studio Series Brawl has filled that hole and that void pretty well. There's some really neat transformation engineering in here, like the stuff that goes on with the treads. We don't have any fake treads anymore. That's the real actual tank treads going on up there at the top. That head mold looks absolutely phenomenal, although I do wish they had painted the red eyes a little bit more so they would pop. They're kind of hidden there in the back now. And the green color looks fantastic, and you can't go wrong with a tank figure. The tanks are always great. Moving on to number 5. Here we have Studio Series Ironhide. Ironhide was the sole Voyager for Wave 3. So Wave 3 Voyager, we had Ironhide, and this guy was pretty dang awesome. I picked him up, of course, because I love Ironhide as a character, but also he's another one that filled the void. I actually, surprisingly, never had a Studio Series Ironhide, or a movie-based Ironhide up until this point. And Studio Series Ironhide fills that void phenomenally for me. And he's just such a great figure. But there are a couple problems that I have with him. There are some things like this bumper that comes in robot mode just sticks out a little bit. Sometimes transformation points can be a little finicky, like trying to get the hood to slot into the tab to get into robot mode can be a pest sometimes. But the rest of the transformation usually is pretty fun. There's just some minor paneling along the way that messes up, which is sometimes a common problem with Studio Series. We'll get to that in another figure on this list, actually. But I love the weapons. The posing on him is great. The deco on him is fantastic. He looks great. I really wish he, too, had an ankle tilt. I feel like he needs to be spread out a lot more, but he just kind of has to stand leg to leg a little bit sometimes. But you can get a little bit of spread, but he'll be a little unbalanced. But yeah, overall, Ironhide was fantastic to get in the Studio Series. He was kind of a tough find. I only saw him like a couple times in the store. So being able to grab him and pick him up was absolutely awesome. Okay, coming in at number 4 is Voyager class. I don't know, I keep saying Studio Series and Voyager class. We've already established that that's what this is. Number 4, Bonecrusher. This guy is awesome. I love the heck out of this Bonecrusher figure. I think he was wave 4 or 5. I think he was 5, actually. He saw a pretty mid to early 2019 release. And yeah, he's another one of those guys that has nostalgia reasons behind him for me, as you'll notice, for pretty much all of these figures. That's a big main reason why they're on this list. I never had the original Bonecrusher figure as a kid. One of my friends did, though, and I loved that guy. I never got one for myself, though. So being able to fill that void with a nice big Voyager version of him is awesome. This guy has a fun transformation. I love the articulation that goes around on his arms. You can get so many fun poses and action scenes going out of the arms, like when he swipes through the bus and whatnot. This guy is just absolutely awesome. I love his little roller skate feet. And there's not many problems that I actually have with the figure itself. There's so many things you can do with the fork too. This guy is just one of those guys that after I bought him for a long time, I just could not put him down because I loved being able to pose him and transform him back and forth into his vehicle mode. And it was just absolutely a fun time just messing around with this guy. The head articulation is great too, and he looks fantastic. Overall, I love this Bonecrusher figure. He's great. He's great. And that just goes to show that the rest of this list is absolutely populated with fantastic figures if I'm already raving this much about Bonecrusher. And coming in at number 3, a fairly recent release, this is Wave 9, Sentinel Prime. I was so excited to get a hold of Sentinel Prime. Again, surprise, surprise, I never had an original figure of Sentinel Prime back when Dark of the Moon released. So I was very, very excited to be able to grab the Studio Series version. He's been trickling out in stores lately. I've seen him a few times, actually. Couple of major... There are some things, though, that do bug me about Sentinel Prime. One, he doesn't come with his shield, which is a slight disappointment. In robot mode, too, his waist, if you try to move it a little bit, it just kind of pops out very... Not super easy, but it has a... has a tendency to. One of the other big issues with him comes in the vehicle mode. There's some paneling and tabbing issues that don't always quite fit together, but it's not impossible. You can get it to fit together with minimal gappage, and it actually looks fantastic when you do. But I have not been able to put Sentinel Prime down since I got him. He looks fantastic in both modes. His head sculpt, if my camera can focus on it, which I don't know if it will, head sculpt is just absolutely phenomenal. It's not getting the justice it deserves on this screen, but they captured that likeness so very close to the CGI model that we saw in the film that it's absolutely uncanny almost. And his transformation, despite in the final form having some panel tabbing issues, is such a blast. And I love, this is one of the few figures that I can actually think of in the Studio Series line where the weapon is incorporated into the vehicle mode. I feel like we don't really see that a lot anymore. A lot of the time it's just a typical weapon storage slot where you tab it on. We'll see that a couple figures later. And it was the same thing with Ironhide. But you just tab it on the back of the vehicle, or you tab it on the bottom or the side or somewhere. But Sentinel Primes is actually incorporated into the vehicle mode. It's the bottom panels of the fire truck mode, and I think that's a really neat idea to be able to show off. It's not just storage space, they're there for a purpose, and they have a purpose in robo mode as well. All right, moving on, here we are at number 2. Number 2, again, filled with nostalgia reasons here. It is Voyager Megatron. This is not the Revenge of the Fallen Megatron, the first movie Megatron. A lot of people do, I think, prefer the Revenge of the Fallen Studio Series figure over the 2007 Leader Studio Series figure, but I actually prefer the 2007 Leader version. I don't know what it is. His legs do look a little boxy. They looked a lot boxier in pictures. And I agree he could use for some gold paint, but I think overall this figure is just absolutely fantastic. He looks great in robot mode. He's fun to pose. His weapon is great. It comes in the box straight, but it's very easy to make it tilted and look a lot more action-y, which is what I've done a little bit. I want to get it a little bit more curved. But it looks great when it's just on his person as an accessory. Transformation into the Cybertronian jet mode is outrageous. Not like outrageous in a bad way, but it's fun to handle back and forth. It's got some neat tricks. I love the way the wings fold out of the legs and around and through. I think that is one of the most unique transformations for a movie Megatron that we've seen. And again, it's just nostalgia fuel for me, you know? I have the original 2009 Leader Megatron from Revenge of the Fallen. So getting an update was pretty cool, but I had that original figure as well. So the nostalgia there is a little bit like, it's cool to have an update, but I have that original one as well. But I've never had a version of the 2007 Megatron. So being able to grab one of those and have a version of that fills the void is awesome. That's the reason I haven't gotten the Dark of the Moon Leader Studio Series Megatron yet, because I have that original Voyager from 2011. So I just haven't quite pulled the trigger on getting the Leader class yet. But if I do, maybe you'll see him show up in a video one day. So that's Megatron. All right, and pulling in the number 1 spot, we have number 38, Bumblebee movie Optimus Prime. This guy, out of the park. Phenomenal figure. One of the best figures I think I own in my entire collection. This guy is nonstop fun. He is one of the reasons I sort of got back into Optimus Prime. I know that sounds weird to hear, but hear me out. For a while, I was just kind of oversaturated with Prime. I didn't really pick up a lot. I didn't get the Combiner Wars one. I picked up the Titans Return one. I wanted to get the one from Combiner or from Power of the Primes, but I didn't ever. And I was just feeling a very low point in Prime collecting. And I had one of the movie ones, but I didn't pay full price for it, or the Studio Series ones, the Revenge of the Fallen one. And I haven't really gotten any of the other ones. But after seeing Bumblebee and seeing this figure, I revitalized it. After this guy came so many more. I got the Siege, I got the Siege Galaxy upgrade, I got Earthrise. There were so many Primes that came out that I've picked up after this guy. So I owe a little bit of Prime love rejuvenation to this figure. He sort of got me back into loving Optimus Prime really as a character. You know, and he actually acted in a super heroic, great way in the Bumblebee movie, and his design is just flawless. It's perfect in the film, and they translated it so well here into figure form. His transformation is awesome. My only real nitpicks with it are in the leg section. Sometimes you move the feet and they'll come untabbed. They don't really hold together all that well, and most of the heaviness ends up in the cab part because it comes from the top of Optimus. But overall, he's great. He's fantastic. You know, this is also one of those figures, I can never put this guy down. He's one of the ones that I will always reach for if I'm bored, if my hands need something to do, if there's a figure I feel like I want to play with, but I don't know which one to play with. This guy is usually always the one I'm reaching for because of that unique transformation, because of the look I've been able to get out of him, the posing, all that stuff. He is magnificent. He is the best looking movie Optimus Prime we have ever got, both in design-wise and figure-wise. So, everybody, that is going to bring it to the end of the top 5 today. Let me know if you have more ideas for reviews or top 5s down in the comments. Let me know. So we're looking at a review for next time. We'll try to go every other, we'll do a review, then we'll do a top 5. If you like that format, go ahead, let me know. Thanks for joining us today, Cybertronians. We will see you next time.